Hey everybody, welcome to another session of Mix Tank. So today we are joined by the amazing Andrew Scheps. How's it going, Andrew?
Hello, it's going well, going well. Happy Bank Holiday and Labor Day to all of those celebrating these holidays.
Yeah, awesome. So before we get started, I'm just going to kind of go down what's going to happen here, how we're going to do it. So everybody who's watching, if you don't know what Mixtank is and you stumbled upon the stream, Mixtank is a platform on puremix.net where you can submit your mixes, and just kind of like a SoundCloud player, people can go in and drop comments, and you can kind of get this community feedback on your mix. So if you're struggling with something, you can submit a mix and just say, hey, I'm struggling with the vocal sound, or I'm not struggling with anything, but I just like to hear if there's something that other people hear that might help me in my quest to the perfect mix and all that stuff, which of course we know doesn't exist. But today, Andrew Scheps is going to go through everybody's submitted mixes, and we are going to go back to one day. So anybody who submitted a mix as of one day ago, Andrew's going to start at the oldest submitted one to kind of make it fair for anybody who submitted it early, and work his way up to the newest one. So if you're watching right now and you want to try and have your mix reviewed by Andrew, you can submit your mix over at Mixtank. So go to puremix.net, and then up on the top nav bar, you'll see Mixtank there. So you can go and submit your mix for Andrew. So Andrew is not going to type out his comments. He's going to copy and paste. Andrew was here with the link to this YouTube video. So if you are watching this later and you saw a comment come in that said Andrew was here, just click on that link, and well, I guess you would be watching this now, so you wouldn't need to click on the link, would you? But anyway, yeah, you can scroll around and find your mix if you're,
or if my
watching
notes
this
are
now.
too cryptic and you feel like you really need to spend some time figuring out what the hell I just said.
Yeah, you can rewind it and hear it all over again. So cool. So yeah, I think without further ado, let's get to it. And
All right.
here we go.
Well,
So
here we are on a Monday. On a
on a
Monday.
Monday.
So I'm going to listen in my headphones that I always listen to. I'm going to normally I do this with school sometimes, and what I do is I listen to the first 5 minutes if it's longer than 5 minutes, just because that helps get things moving. I'm not going to be quite as militant, and plus with this playback, I can actually skip around a little bit. But like for instance, the first song I was going to listen to is 542. Probably I'm not going to listen to the whole thing. Just cause. And I'm clicking the HD button. We'll see if my rural internet will handle that.
Nice.
So the first one is How Could I Forget by Phil Kahn Construction. And I'm hoping that it's because you also have a construction company. Because
Before you start,
need stuff done. Yes, sir. What?
yeah.
Yeah.
Before you start, I'm going to do a little bit of a shameless, unnatural plug for your latest video that just came out. And this one is actually free on YouTube for everybody too. So Andrew and Fab DuPont sat down and talked about mixing in headphones, which Andrew's about to listen on headphones now. So after the stream, of course, you should go check out that video, and Andrew gives some insights into how he makes that work and all that. So
yeah, and I do spend a huge amount of time mixing with these guys on. And you would think, having gotten my Atmos room up and running, things like that, that I would spend less time. But the reality is the binaural is a really important component of mixing in Atmos. So even with that, it's, headphones they're good. They're good.
They're good.
They're nice. And they keep your ears
for
warm. Yeah.
It's the added pleasure. Awesome. Okay. All right. Have fun, and I will see you in a little bit.
Yeah. Excellent. So, and everybody, thanks for coming. This is going to be the opposite of every other Monday when I get to just sit and other people talk. Now I've got to talk, and there's nobody to give me any sort of indication of anything. So I'm going to paste in on this first song that I was here. And now I'm going to hit play, and you guys should hear it as well.
Through the past, knowing now those memories just won't last. Wondering how life has slipped by so fast.
right. Sorry to cut you off right before we get to the big ending, but I think we know where it's going. I hope there's probably an outro that's awesome. But so basically, I think the comments that are already up there from Tom and Sonic Science Lab are pretty on point. I think for me, what's happening is there's a balance issue in the drum kit where the kick drum has got this amazing attack to it, but the snare doesn't. The toms kind of do, but not as much as the kick, and the snare is the quietest thing. And the cymbals really aren't playing much of a part in the mix. So I would try and get the drum kit to feel more like a drummer and less like the individual sounds. The mix also feels just a little bit wet overall. There's some things that are really cool wet, like the main lead guitar, I think sounds great. All the ambience around that is fantastic. The vocal, strangely, does not sound too wet. I think that's okay. In a way, it almost sounds a little too dry for the mix. Like, it's quiet, but it's easy to hear, but it feels like it's sticking out a little bit. One note with the vocals is when the background vocals are doing the oohs and the ahs and they're not going with the lead, having them hard panned is okay. But when they're singing with the lead, they feel really disconnected being that hard panned. So either you got to bring them all in a little bit, or just change the panning when it goes from pad vocals to actual harmony vocals. And when they're harmonies, I feel like you've got to get them in closer to the lead vocal with the panning to help support that. I think that this is an easy thing to say, like, hey, go listen to this record and make it sound like one of the best sounding records in the history of records. But I think if you listen to Dark Side of the Moon a little bit, or even a couple records after that, that era of Pink Floyd, what you'll get is a really good picture of how a drum kit like that's sort of ambient, an arrangement that's a little bit sparse, bass that's important, and right now the bass is a little bit washed out, and it'd be great to have that be more of a present instrument, but mainly about the way it goes back and forth between the vocals and the guitar solo, because they got that down. And right now there are times when the solo starts under the end of a vocal, and you've got to really ride that up so that you hear it, because it feels as though the guitar is coming in to start doing something important, but it isn't important yet because it's buried underneath the vocal. But then the vocal stops and like, oh, okay, now it's a solo. But somehow those entrances need to work. And if you can't get it to work with the overlap, you would actually be better off getting rid of the pickup to the solo and letting the guitar have an entrance. Because otherwise it's got to carry that whole next section, but it's sort of snuck in. So sonically, I'd say drum kit, ambience, panning on the background vocals. But then for sort of arrangement, I'd really look at the band as a whole, because the individual sounds are cool, but there's something not quite glued together about the whole band. All right, this is really weird just doing this to an empty screen with nothing else going on. So I'm going to move on, and Mark's going to tell me if I'm doing anything wrong or badly. So next on the list is Someone Better by Mary Spender. And I'm assuming this is mixed by Robert Lowe. A song from the Produce Like a Pro Academy. So I'm assuming you got tracks from someone and you're doing your mix. All right, I'm going to listen to it, and then we're going to see what I have to say.
I should end this one. I secretly hope that she hears this. Does she know you were fearless? You jumped right in, met me there. When did she make you so scared? Someone better, better insane to see you happier. When did I sign up for this game so triangular? You, me, her, running back and forth, the rules all hers. Who came off worse? She drove me insane. You drove me insane. Someone better, better come along. I'll be waiting. Someone better, worthy of a song. Ooh, someone better, better come along. I'll be waiting. Someone better, worthy of a song. Someone better, better come along. I'll be waiting. Someone better, worthy of a song. I guess I should end this one.
Nice. Couple things. Overall, I think the kick drum's actually cool. I know there's a comment here about maybe making the drums smaller. I don't mind that. I like the kick drum being that boomy. But the snare being off center and as loud as it is really kind of distracting all the way through, especially in the intro with the slap on the snare. Once it goes to brushes, it's a little more centered. But I think you should bring that in a little bit, because what's happening is everybody is within the stereo spread of the snare drum. Like, the snare drum is wider than the rest of the mix. And I don't think that's a good thing. I'd almost experiment with just making the drums mono and let other things sit outside of them and see how that works. And then make them more stereo until you like the way that feels. The vocal, I think, is just missing a little bit of air on top. It feels a tiny bit muffled in places. And I think you could, if you keep the kick drum the way it is, which I like, you could lose some low end on the bass and then it could come up, because there's so little going on musically that you're basically stuck with nothing but the guitar for the band. And the bass is doing a lot of really interesting stuff and it needs to be louder, but if it was still as big as it is now, it would start to swamp the mix. And then something that, if this were your production or you were the artist, that I would comment on the production side of it, is that coming out of the bridge, the vocal ends and you've got this little like 2-bar thing with some guitar playing, but it's a little like, well, now we're just waiting for this section to end so we can get back to the song. And as a mixer, this happens a lot where there's some weakness in the arrangement, but it's up to you to make that interesting. So whether you add a little bit of delay to the drums or you carry a long reverb on the last note of the vocal, or whatever you decide to do, you've got to make that little spot at the end of the bridge happen. And be more interesting. And then also, I might be making this up, but I believe there's some rhythmic pushes right at the beginning of the bridge, and those need to be a bit of a bigger deal. So I think overall, sonically, it's really close, but you've got to really work the arrangement because it's so simple and there's so few things there that the arrangement doesn't take care of itself in a way. So you just need to give it a little help along the way. So that's what I have to say about that. Speaking to a screen that doesn't speak back to me. So we're going to say that I've said enough. So the next one is Prayer of the Soldier and by Pezzo. So I am...
Si
Cool, nice. It's really good. Okay, I got three main things. The first thing is a really good thing. The way it sweeps out at the end of that first chorus into the kind of reintro thing with that bloom of low end, that is fucking awesome. That's really, really good. I like that a lot. That feels exactly the way I would hope that would feel. The chorus, though, the first chorus, I was really hoping for some harmony vocals, and they are there in the second chorus. I don't know if musically they're enough of the, if it's the same and you could fly it, or whether she would have to re-sing, whatever it is. But the vocal just feels a little unsupported there. I like that you've added the delay in the first chorus, because there are lots of spaces between the vocals. But I feel like it's just sitting there a little bit too much. When you get to the kind of post-chorus after the second chorus and you get the higher strings that come in, I feel like there needs to be a little more arrangement even in the first chorus, both with harmony vocals just to support her, but then also some stuff in the holes, just little tiny things. And maybe they're already there and you can just highlight them. But I find myself waiting for the next vocal line, and that's not good. But sonically, overall, it's really good. The only thing I would do differently is the little reintro breakdown guy before the second verse, and then at the very end, the little program snare that's acting like a military snare. It's really dark, and it doesn't feel anything like an actual military snare. But that's such an iconic sound that I almost feel disappointed that it doesn't sound like a military snare. So personally, I'd want that a little brighter and crisper. But yeah, overall, really good job. Really good job. And I obviously, I'm looking through some of the other notes, and okay, yeah, make sure that you're cool in mono and that things don't disappear. But overall, I really like the sound of it. That's really good. There you go. All right, next is Estu Amor. All right, and we're going to listen to that now.
Estás aquí, tan solo abrirás mis ojos, podré percibir que es tu amor que llena hoy mi vida de pasión, que trae nueva fuerza a mi interior, que cambia en gozo la desilusión. Es tu amor que cubre hoy mi falta y mi error, que trae esperanza al corazón, que me acompaña por donde yo voy. Y aún al mirar los montes y el cielo azul, contemplo tu grandeza y tu inmensidad, que no escapa de mi neblina y de la oscuridad. Me hace entender aún más lo importante que soy para ti.
Nice. Really good. Really good. The arrangement works really well. The song builds itself. There's one thing in the arrangement that's a little weird to me, but I'll get to it in a second. I'll go chronologically because I decided I should actually take notes so I don't forget everything by the time we get to the end. So, acoustic guitar, and this is all in the context of it's really good and it's working really well. But the acoustic guitar sounds very DI to me. It like one of the piezo pickups in the guitar. I try and make it sound a little more real. Once the track gets going, it doesn't really matter a whole lot, but it's so exposed at the beginning that I feel like the acoustic guitar sound has to be better at the very beginning. And there are also some really weird timing things just in the first couple bars between the snare and the acoustic. I would sort that out. There's a great UAD plugin that I'm not going to remember the name of that lets you take an acoustic DI and it sort of, I'm assuming it's like impulse responses of acoustic guitar bodies, and it makes it sound a little bit more like an acoustic recording. There's just something about it that doesn't feel important enough of the acoustic guitar. Now, it could be once the band kicks in, you can get rid of all of that and go back to what's there because you really just need the motion of it, and that's working really well. I like the sound of the snare when it's the rolling snare drum part, the busy part in the verses. But in the choruses, there's a lot of snare rattle. And I don't know if there's anything you can do about that, because obviously that was set up for that rolling snare to work. But maybe if you've got top and bottom mics, you can start favoring the top mic in the choruses. And the other thing that's happening is you've got all this kind of upper mid-range energy from the rolling snare in the verses. And when you get to the choruses and the bridge, they're like no cymbals. I can barely hear the hi-hat, and I can only hear the attack of the ride cymbal in the bridge. And it's just making the energy of the track be backwards. You're actually losing energy, especially going into that first chorus. So I would try and get the top end of the kit so that you pick up some energy, but without swamping it all with cymbals, because obviously you don't want to do that. When the electric guitar came in the second verse, it was actually really surprising to me. Like, this was been a very organic acoustic track up until then all of a sudden there was this electric guitar. So I don't know, maybe there could be one chord in the intro or just the downbeat of the first verse to introduce that kind of instrument to the mix, because it felt a little out of place. But once it's in there, it's all really good and it works really well. In the instrumental section, I'm assuming these are sample strings. The attack of them is pretty slow, and in the body of the song, totally fine. But when they start playing lines, they're pretty far behind. And I would see about sliding those a little bit early, because I think that would be a good thing. But I think if you sort out the snare drum energy to the cymbal energy and stuff like that, then the only other thing is that to me, the vocal's feeling a little quiet. And by the time you get to the second verse, it feels dry. It wants a bit more, like, I think this is why the electric guitar surprised me so much. It sounds like a very intimate acoustic recording until you get to that second verse and realize that the strings are part of a much bigger picture. But if that's the case, then the vocal can't be this very sort of folk song treatment. It has to be more of a pop treatment. I feel like you need a little bit of delay and reverb on there, even if you sneak it in as the song goes. But I think the vocal sort of gets left behind. But it's really good. So I'm nitpicking. And I'm going to stop and move on to the next one, because that's what we do here. And Bubba's Day. That's what you do, right? That's the next one. Hold on. I'm going to delete my notes, because that's also what I do. Okay, here we go.
He's a tall man with chiseled features. In third grade, he dumbfounded teachers when he couldn't pass by the seventh try. He'll lift your truck so you can change your tire, slap on duct tape and bale and wire. He's dumb as a rock, sweet as rhubarb pie. In the dictionary forum, his picture's in redneck decorum. The epitome of stupidity in his youth. Step aside, see him glide and reel. He spins the girls just to hear him squeal. Whoop whoop, it's Bubba's Day to wear that too. Better than big toes poking through both shoes, name spelt wrong on his tattoo. Oh my Lord have mercy, big belly hanging over plumber's pants. He'll steal a kiss, even have a chance. Tonight he'll act the total fool, tomorrow he'll sober up in his truck at the swimming pool. Hold my bear and watch this here, he's Superman, he knows no fear. This glorious day comes twice a year, whoop whoop, when Bubba wears the tube. In the dictionary forums, pictures in redneck decorum, the epitome of stupidity in his youth. Step aside, see him glide and reel, he spins the girls just a half squeal. Whoop whoop, as Bubba stayed to wear the tube. Whoop whoop, ain't nothing fancy, whoop whoop, ain't gold plated, whoop whoop, ain't every day, whoop whoop, just twice a year, it's Bubba's day to wear the daggone tube. Oh, Bubba, you're my hero.
Well, I was not expecting that. Let's hear it for Bubba. It's really fun. I love all the sound effects and the panning on the vocals. The problem for me is the band is mono. You've got bass, guitar, and steel right up the center. And obviously that leaves you lots of room for all the sound effects and things like that. But the sound effects are extras. They're not the band. And where it really becomes a problem is when you go from the steel solo to the guitar solo. And like you can barely hear the guitar because he's down low, which is cool, but it's just buried because it's all in the middle and the steel doesn't stop playing. I would hard pan them for a minute and listen to it. And when you decide that you can't stand them hard pan, to bring them in until you're happy with them. And hopefully they'll still be like out here at 3 and 9 or something like that. Because you've got to get some width in the band. The band is cool and the bass is doing a lot. And I think the sound of the instruments is probably all fine. What that will also do is it will get all that mid-range out of the middle, because as good as the vocal is, it's hard to understand sometimes. But I think it's just because it's getting stepped on by the steel, and you don't want to turn the steel down. That's what's really carrying the song. So I really feel like if you pan the band, almost everything else will take care of itself. And if you want any inspiration, I would say go listen to some Andrews Sisters stuff, because for where the vocal is harmonized, that's a really good picture of how to get that going, where you really hear the personality of the voices. And also go listen to some Spike Jones, because there are tons of sound effects and crazy things going on, but it never distracts you from the song. It always just adds to it. So I think this is really close. I mean, the fact that the biggest mix moves you need to make are panning is a really good thing. And once you do that, then I think there'll be like some little tweaking in the vocal, but it's not going to be anything major. Yeah. So pan the band. That's my advice. Oh, and hold on. I have to type that I was here. So I was here. All right. Next is Apple of Your Eye, which I have a feeling is going to be pretty much the same song. It's like probably a cover of Bubba's Day, because it's just the rock version, right? Probably not. Okay, here we go.
If I set myself on fire, would it distract you from the apple of your eye that makes you blind to me? If I set my sails on currents of the big stream, would you join my ship at sea? The apple of your eye, oh, must be very sweet. It's an attraction, satisfaction that can't be beat. The apple of your eye, my, how it entices you. The apple of your eye, what's a three-dimensional boy to do? The smell of coffee fills the air with promises to top your cup with conversation. But there's no line as smooth as password for the Wi-Fi 4G. Can't you see past the radiation? The apple of your eye, oh, must be very sweet. It's an attraction, satisfaction that can't be beat. The apple of your eye, my, how it entices you. The apple of your eye, what's a three-dimensional boy to do? There's a buzzing in my pocket, a message maybe from a voice so far away. But as I see she looks at me, I feel just like a fool. When in Rome, I guess I should do as Romans do. The apple of your eye, oh, it's very sweet. It's an attraction, satisfaction, it's got me beat. The apple of your eye, my, it entices me. The apple of your eye, there's no fighting it. The apple of your eye, oh, feels so good I can't quit. The apple of your eye, oh yeah, the apple of your apple of your apple of your eye.
All right. Again, panning, strangely. So it's a duo, according to the thing, guitar and viola. So the guitars, though, it's in the middle where I can't really hear it a whole lot. The Rhodes is off to the left, very easy to hear. The violin pans around sometimes, but then sometimes it's in the middle for the solo. I would set this up as a band with the guitar and the viola in known spots because they're the featured musicians. And that would help with the transition in the solos, much like the transition in the solos in the last one. But it would also help just sort of establish a band. I would get rid of the panning in the intro on the viola, but it's great in that little middle eight spacey section. Perfect, because that's what should happen. This becomes a psychedelic mess for a second and then sorts itself out. So that's cool. The thing that's bugging me the most, unfortunately, has nothing to do with the mix. And I don't know, from reading the description, it says that you added the percussion track. So I don't know if there's some percussion underneath that you added or whether the drums were added. The timing on the drums is distractingly weird to me almost all the way through. When it's the 12/8 kind of shuffle thing, it's really dragging in spots and is a little bit distracting. And then when it's a more straight ahead beat, it's almost like, oh, thank God this is easy. And the snare starts rushing a little bit. There's the groove between the vocal and the instruments I think is fine, and I think even the bass is cool, but I think there's some drum stuff that should get sorted out. Because yeah, I'm finding it distracting. But sonically, I think some panning would really just help place this as a band, and it would make a lot more sense. But overall, it sounds good. It sounds good. So sorry about the drum thing, but there you go. And I just realized I forgot to put a I Was Here in the last one. So I'm going to do that. And then we're going to Semblante Terra M Transito. And I'm sure I did not pronounce that correctly. Nice. Really good. Really good. So there's something about the way the two main guitars go from verse to B to chorus and then back again that I'm not quite sure how to describe it. I mean, what I wrote down is that it sounds like it's just two dudes playing guitar and they just step on different pedals as you get to different sections to add drive. But this wants to be more like produced guitar sounding than that. And I think like a great reference, and I'd be shocked if you guys weren't thinking this a little bit on your own, is some of the Deftones stuff, especially with the vocal treatment. But they're geniuses at building guitars up. But like what should happen when you get out of that first chorus and go back to the small guitar for the second verse is almost like the chorus guitars stop and you're left with the verse guitar that may or may not have ever stopped playing, but instead it just sounds like someone kicked off a pedal and now it's cleaner. So there's something in the transition between the guitar sounds that I would like to have sound more produced in a way, which is weird, but I don't know. That's the best I can describe it. The other thing is somehow their guitars being hard panned is great, but there is zero guitar in the middle, like ever. So I think what you've got to do is as the song builds, you either have to add some distortion to the bass to bring up some mid-range on the riff that's in the middle. And then you'll probably have to ride the vocal to keep up with it. But what's happening is I've got this almost clean kick bass snare thing going on in the middle, and then these big heavy guitars, but I'm not getting a full picture of a big heavy song, which is what I want to get out of it. In the riff section, I'm wondering, because the riff's up pretty high on the bass, that at some point you should just pop an octave on that guy and let him be deep and gigantic, because that it never quite pays off the way that riff builds. And I feel like the drums pay off and the guitars pay off, but somehow the track doesn't. So adding a low octave to the riff at that point could do it, just really fill up the spectrum. But that's it. It's really cool. I like the way the drums change. Yeah, that's all good. There's just something about the guitars that I feel like could be bigger in places to let them be smaller everywhere else, if that makes any sense. Anyway, that's what I got on that one. Lifeboat. Is this the Lifeboat? Hoping this is a different Lifeboat. I think it is because it says it's rock. Okay, so we're up to Lifeboat V3 by Rod the Mix God. Excellent. Oh, it is that Lifeboat.
She calms me down when I am faithless. She brings my thoughts to better places. I'm the burden she embraces. It's the same dark sea all around, familiar as the same old me breaking down. So call out your lifeboats, honey, I'm all at sea. Could you be my lighthouse, honey, and rescue me? Can you help me find home, honey, the waters these deep? Oh, call out your lifeboats, honey, and rescue me.
All right. The fate. It's about to say, like, hey, man, it got really quiet right there coming out of the first chorus. That's because it's over. Yeah, this is a weird one for me to comment on, right? Because anything that doesn't sound like what I did sounds weird to me. But overall, it sounds good. It actually feels good. You get to the chorus and it really feels like a chorus, which is really good. The blips on the attack of those keyboards in the pre-chorus and the chorus, especially in the pre-chorus, I'm finding really distracting. I feel like the vocal just sounds a little muffled. I think it wants to be opened up a little bit. And I like all the effects in the chorus, but it felt too wet for me in the verse. But I'm not sure how you would make that transition work. It's just, there's something about it that makes you not listen to the lyric in the verse. And obviously in a song like this, I mean, on every song, the lyric is really important, but especially when it's a singer-songwriter-y kind of thing, and that's what this is. So I feel like there's something where you could focus the vocal a little better, but overall it feels really good. And the biggest thing is it does feel good getting into that chorus. I mean, obviously I have to say there's no way it's, you know, as good as my mix. Yeah, right. I had, mine was so bad I had to do a whole nother video on it. Yeah, so anyway, let's move on, shall we, to something called 3x5.
I remember when we were playing house, I would sing to you when you were dancing around, dancing around. And I recall when we'd say goodnight, we'd argue over who's gonna turn out the light. Then we were making up until the sun comes up. Now what's left of you and me is 3x5 memories. Bye-bye so long. Need a little light in my life this time. And bye-bye so long. Now that I see you so damn clear to me, I've been kicked around and knocked to the ground. Try to get up, but you pushed me right back down. I don't need your 3x5 looking down on me. I struck a match and watched it burn. The lesson lived is a lesson learned. Now I can breathe again, breathe again. Guess I finally broken free. I'm taking time just to work on me and start getting out instead of giving in. Now all that's left of you and me is 3x5 memories. Bye-bye so long. Need a little light in my life this time. Bye-bye so long. Now that I see it's so damn clear to me, I've been kicked around and knocked to the ground. You try to get up, but you pushed me right back down. I don't need your 3x5s looking down on me. I remember when we were playing house, I would sing to you when you were dancing around. Bye-bye so long. Need a little light in my life this time. Yeah, bye-bye so long. Now that I see you so damn clear to me, I've been kicked around and knocked to the ground. Try to get up, but you push me down. I've been kicked around, you're knocked to the ground. Try to get up, but you push me right back down. I don't need your 3x5 looking down on me.
That's awesome. I'm sure the client's pretty happy with that. The first thing I'd say, which of course has nothing to do with you, but like the arrangement at the end is really weird. The fact that you go into this sort of instrumental na 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 section, like it feels like it should end with the chorus. And I just realized I stopped it like really early, so there was still stuff going on. So there's a whole nother bit to the end. It just felt like, wow, why have we gone somewhere else? I was very fulfilled with the song as it was. So anyway, in the choruses, there's a little arpeggio guitar on the left, but I don't feel like it has a friend on the right. But I think there is another electric rhythm guitar that's on the right, but I don't know. There's something unbalanced about it to me. And speaking of that, I would experiment, even though you're already off to the client. So don't mess with stuff unless the client tells you to, because why? But the solos feel dry to me. And part of it is that they're dead center. If those went off to the right a little bit, and then they just had a little bit of extra effects, whether it's a delay or a spring reverb or some pitch shifting, like whatever, anything just to give them a little bit more of a special sound in the solos, I think that would really help. I like the idea of it going off to the right and being another member of the band as opposed to the overdub solo, because this feels very much like a band track, which I like. The snare, it didn't bother me at all, but when I listened to it, it turns out maybe it's a little boxy. Maybe there's a little bit of like bright attack you can bring in there without messing the mix up. But like I say, it doesn't bother me what it sounds like, but it sounds like, ooh, maybe the drums could be even a little more exciting by getting a little more crack into that snare. And the only other thing, which is really weird, is in that bridge, I think it's right after the first solo, the tone on the vocal, on the words horsing around, something crazy happened. Now, maybe it was a streaming thing and bandwidth dropped or something, but it sounded like it got really muffled for a second and then opened back up. So that could just be a one-off, or maybe my brain farted, but whatever, check that out, because it was like really weird when I just listened to it. But that's it. That's what I got on that one. Really good job. Okay, Montana Highway Mix 2.
Rolling down a Montana highway, running about 155. Growing up in a small town, you need to get away. Nothing ever happens, most each and every day. If you're like me, you find out that the grass is not so green, and the city life isn't all that it seems. City but alone. They went where the jobs were, but so far from home. And why do we define what we are by what we have? And we realize our lives were not so bad. The big city life, it moves so fast.
All right. It's interesting. The drums feel like just kick and snare, but I can hear the overheads, and obviously when the toms hit, they're fine. But it doesn't feel like a drum kit, and I think that's what's really letting you down, especially in the verses. Strangely, like the choruses, there's enough other instrumentation and the background vocals to carry it and fill it up musically, but the verses feel really weird to me, especially coming out of that first chorus into the second verse. There's just something that's like, wow, what happened? Like you have to figure out what you're listening to instead of just getting swept along with the song. So I'd try and make the drums sound more like a drum kit and less like kick, snare, toms, and then some cymbals in the back. There's something really weird going on in the vocal tuning in the intro, and I can't tell if it's tuned to wrong notes or if it's just a little bit out of tune or something. It just in those first couple harmonized lines, there's something, I think it's going to the wrong note. So I would check that out, definitely. You add the delay. Oh, wow, I just got logged out or something. You add the delay at the end of the first verse. Oh, that's cool. So now my notes are gone. I don't think it needs it. I don't think that delay is really necessary at the end of the first verse leading into the first chorus. It just felt distracting to me. Wow, I had something else and my notes just got wiped out. And of course, since I wrote them down, I didn't make any attempt to remember them. So, but I think those are the main things. I think you need to get the band sounding a little more like a band, especially in the choruses, and then you can work backwards to figure out how to make the verses work. Oh, I know what it was. It's the Rhodes in the second chorus is just really loud. It's just really sticking out that do-do-do, the higher arpeggio part. So I think that could get tucked in a little bit more. Yeah. But I would say keep working on it. I'm going to refresh this page because what has happened here, I'm going to say let's go. Because it is not showing me anything newer than Montana Highway anymore. What is going on there? Mark, help me. Help me. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, let's see.
I better do my Andrew was here thing. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of refreshed the page, and now I don't I'm sorting by newest, but the newest one I see is the one I just listened to.
Right.
So let me change
in
the
the
sorting.
meantime, I text you over one from somebody that was in the chat who submitted a couple days before.
All right, and I just resorted and everything came back.
Oh, gotcha. Good.
Okay, so if I go to that link here, okay,
that pops up.
10 summers ago, is that the one?
Yes. Yeah. Cool. And for anybody in the chat, if you submitted your mix before 24 hours ago, which is about where we started today, but you're here and you want Andrew to listen to your mix, we're gonna try and do this in the most fair way possible. But if you let me know, I'll try and pass it along to Andrew, and we'll just see how we do with time. So
yeah, because I'm looking now, and like in the last 4 hours, there are about 30 mixes. So
yeah,
I'm not gonna get to everybody. I mean, I can go for a while.
Right.
I can go for a while, but yeah. So, all right.
Okay.
Well, let's check this one out, and hopefully nothing will explode again. Turn these speakers back down, and here we go.
Summers ago, when I can never outgrow that feeling I got when I had nowhere to go.
Cool. Really cool. I'm going to try and go a little faster so we can get to more songs. So when you get to the first chorus, you don't really know you've gotten to the chorus because musically it's not like a big chord shift harmonically, right? And then you get the chorus vocal, and then you get these great answer guitars after the first line of the vocal. But something's got to happen on the downbeat of the chorus to make it really obvious, like we're somewhere new now. So I would see about taking some of those answer guitars that are coming after the vocal and maybe popping something on the downbeat, at least in the first chorus, because you know what's going on when you get to the second chorus. You don't need it as much. But it was a little confusing, like, well, what are we doing here? And that's a problem anytime you're mixing anything where the vocal doesn't come in on the downbeat of the chorus. It's tough because unless they do something in the arrangement to make it really obvious, everyone's sort of hanging around wondering what the hell just happened. But you got to make it obvious you're there. I love those answer guitars, though. Really cool. The feedback in verse 2 feels a little weird just hanging around right in the center. Either it can move around a little bit, or it should just be off to the right a little bit, or something like that. But with it just plowing through, it starts to distract from the vocal a little bit. And I like the feedback. I wouldn't take it out, but just move it away from the vocal a little bit. Crank that shaker. The shaker is awesome. I think it's in the second verse that it comes in, and that adds a real what's the band? I'll think of it. There's a band. It's like that. Just heavy percussion over a rock track like that is a really great thing to do. And I was just like briefly looking at your comments, and you're explaining about when the drums are recorded and that the shaker's just a little quinoa, and that's all cool for those of us reading the story. But for those people just listening to the song, they don't care. They just want some more shaker. They don't care if it's quinoa, rice, or some LP shaker that cost you $400. It doesn't matter. Just turn that shit up. So there you go. That's what I have to say about that. So I'm assuming I should just go back to the order we were at, which I need to find that. So what was the last thing we listened to? I think Montana Highway was the last thing. So we're on Headways, unless Mark tells me otherwise.
That's the one.
Oh, all right. Well, that stopped. I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't see a note about why that stops. Okay, so overall, it's cool. I really liked, once I got into it, the weird sort of lo-fi guitar thing happening in the intro and the way that leads into the verse. And I think that's fine. But then when those big guitars come back in the first chorus, they're not carrying the weight of the song at all. So at first I thought, well, maybe this is supposed to be like a much more sort of Sonic Youth thing, going back all the way to like earlier Lou Reed or whatever. But I don't think it really is supposed to be that. This is supposed to be like a big rock chorus, and the guitars are just not doing it. They need some mids, some low mids, just some weight, because they come in and they're loud and they take up some space, but they're not making the track feel bigger. So I think that's the very first thing you got to look at. The verse that we just got to, the third verse, the vocals like louder and even drier than it is in the earlier verses. It's too much, but maybe that's why this cuts off. I don't really know. But what I would say in the second verse is I would cut out the reintro. I know this is like above my pay grade. Stay in your lane, man. It's the arrangement. It's not the mix, but you don't need a reintro after that first chorus. Get right back to the vocal. It might make that transition a little tough, and you're going to have to really push the vocal on the first word so everybody can hear it. But you get back there and it's like, look, man, we've spent a lot of time in this space in the first verse. Why are you making me wait for the second verse? I really would think about chopping that out. And then there are some timing things in the drums in the first verse. There were just like a couple of times where something was rushing a little bit, and the drums are so exposed, and it's a cool part, and it's played really well almost all the way through. So either I'm hearing things, it was some weird streaming like buffering thing, or there are one or two spots where perhaps you should just fly the drums and just sort of clean up stuff that's a little bit distracting. Because I mean, you got nothing, right? It's drums, bass, and vocal, and the one guitar. So you really do need to make sure that those drums are not taken away from the vocal. All right, that's what I have there. I'm going to pee on your comments by saying I was here. Oh, well, the next one is called Move On. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to move on. Okay, moving on.
I'm walking in my dreams at most end. There is no way to be awaking then. I'm moving on. I'm reaching out my arms against you then, throwing out my inner secrets before I break down. I'm spinning round in circles now and then, and reaching out to be the closest friend. I'm holding on. Patience is a way to understand. I don't know how to live without demands in making sense. I'm bringing out the best of me and staying in my own cloud. I hope that
Awesome. That's really cool. The arrangement is fucking great. It's really, really good. My only like sonic specific thing is that when the slide first comes in and it's a little off to the right, it's super, super dry. It sounds great in the solos. I would just keep whatever effects are on it in the solos on it when it first comes in, because that's the sound of that guitar. It doesn't have to be in the middle. Leave it off to the right where you've got it. But it wants that ambience to be the slide guitar that it is. And like I said, the solos sound great. All the parts are really cool. The thing I would say is you've got these really dramatic scene changes, right? Where you go to like the super beatly bit and then you go back to where you started and then you come back to and stuff like that. I feel like sonically those scene changes aren't actually drastic enough, because instrumentally they are, but like the vocal doesn't really change too much treatment wise between those sections. I feel like they should, like the psychedelic stuff should be crazy psychedelic and the non-psychedelic stuff shouldn't be psychedelic at all. So I would make it all a bit more extreme. See how far you can push it. And don't just do it with the instruments, do it with the vocal as well. And yeah, I think it'll just get better. It's already really cool. It's really interesting to listen to. And it sounds really great. Like sonically, that dry slide when it first comes in is the only thing I would mention. So there you go. That's what I have to say about that one.
Awesome.
All right. Oh, hold on. It's Mark. I have to turn up my speakers so I can hear him.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to do a little bit of a change thing to try and hit everybody that's here live in the chat.
Okay.
And
I'm going to search for the names of them.
I'm going to feed you a couple. Yeah, so there's a search button in the upper left on there that you can type the song names into. And the first one that we're going to do, everybody wish a happy birthday to Alex. Alex's song is Some Kind of Intro.
Some kind of intro. There it is.
Yeah.
All right.
And we're going to do our best to get to as many as we can here, but got to be respectful of Andrew's time and everything. So hang with us in the chat.
Yeah, but if you're here, let Mark know, and we'll try to get to all those rather than me just going through the timeline. So,
cool. Okay, awesome. Next one.
Some kind of intro. Happy birthday, Alex. Turning down my speakers. Hitting play. Am I hitting play? Are we there? Nice one. Happy birthday once again. I mean, you know, what do you say? It's really cool. The synth sounds are great. I would say that the intro of it before the second synth part comes in probably goes 1 or 2 rounds too long. It's not quite interesting enough to keep me going. I love the sonic changes that are happening as that goes, but I was ready for the next thing to enter. I mean, and you even say that maybe it needs some ear candy. So yeah, I think it probably does. Here's something I've never said in my life. Maybe the kick is too dry. That's insane. It's hard to even get the words out in that order. But there's something about the kick that's just like pointy and dry and doesn't really feel like it's driving the track as much. Like the synths drive the track really well. And the drums are like, oh, great. They came in, but they're not pushing as much as I want them to for some reason. And the only other thing I would say is you've got that little stop right before you get to the last section. That needs more drama in it, whether it's something, sorry, Mole has just clawed me in the side for some reason. It needs some sort of drama, something backwards, something swelling, something. So a little bit like that. But overall, sounds great. Nice job. Happy birthday. So I'm waiting for Mark to tell me what the next one I'm supposed to do is, because I told him that we do the ones he said, because he's the boss of me. But he's not here. Oh, hold on. Here we go. Okay. Open my eyes. My eyes. All right.
I'm on my way again to your house. And I just can't wait to kiss your mouth. Well, it feels so good, baby, I misunderstood what the deal was. I was caught up in your lust, but that's just a dream. I've been living in the dark, I've been living in the dark. I want it to be the way that we said it would be, 'cause it gets harder to come back when your love has me on my knees, and I reach out to find that I'm destroyed and I am not free of all your deception. See now that your love has blinded me. Gotta open my eyes, my eyes. Gotta open my eyes, my eyes. Pull the door closed, take off all my clothes, get me high. Don't need a second chance, time for romance, baby, tonight. Well, it feels so good, baby, I misunderstood what the deal was. I was caught up in your lust, but that's just a dream. I've been living in the dark, I've been living in the dark.
Cool. Nice. I like that it never gets big. I really do. When that first, the rhythm first comes in, you think, okay, is this going to have the big kick drum? And then later on, is this going to have the big kick drum? The fact that it never does, I actually really like that it stays really contained. I would say starting in the second verse and then pretty much all the way out from there, the lead vocal's getting a little bit lost. Part of it is just level. It can just come up a little bit. But there's something in the tone. And I know that this is a stylistic thing, and it could partially be that I'm old. With the really heavy auto-tuning and things like that, there's a processed sound you get to the vocal, which to my ears starts to feel a little muffled. There's something contained about the vocal, and I want it to be more open. I don't know how you achieve that, because maybe the processing is more important than whatever. It could just be a level thing. The only other thing I would say is that the choruses have a little bit of a major minor thing going on, where like the chords are major, but there's some minor thirds in the vocal. It doesn't really bother me other than the first line of the first chorus on the word be. It was like, whoa, hold on a second. What's going on here? I didn't know what chord we were at. It could be that it's the first time I heard it and I had to get used to it. But I think there's something you could do to help make that transition a little better. And then in your notes, in your upload, you're asking about the overall volume loudness. Is that achieved in mastering? Obviously, mastering can make it louder, but I think you always need to mix as if there is no mastering. You always want to try and get it completely 100% finished, and then you get help from mastering or comments like this or whatever. So you want to leave some room if you want somebody to sonically do stuff to your mix. You definitely don't want to send them something as loud as what I put out. But if you feel like it works better with it louder because of something to do with the mix processing or whatever, then just go for it now. You can always back it off, but don't be afraid to at least see what it sounds like. So that's what I say. And now I need Mark to tell me something else to do. And of course, he's listening to the stream, so it's all very delayed. Aha. Trendsetter. All right. So Trendsetter, hellified. Oh, hellified. Hell yes. Is that a Bay Area hella, or is that a something else hella? We won't know. But here's what it sounds like. Oh, where'd it go? Hey.
I came in the game with the money and the fame. Came in the game with the money and the fame. In the game with the money and the fame. Fame, yeah. I came in the game with the money and the fame. Came in the game with the money and the fame. In the game with the money and the fame. Fame, game with the money and the fame. I came in the game with the money and the fame. My name Run C, his name Snake. DJ Snake, drop that bass, drop that bass, drop that bass. Bass so hard I can't feel my bass. Stop it going dumb, put your eardrums in place. TRENDSETTER. You know who we are. Most bass, 5'4". You know who we are. Most bass, 5'4". You know who we are. Most bass, 5'4", 5'4", 5'4", 5'4". TRENDSETTER. You know who we are. Most bass, 5'4". TRENDSETTER. TRENDSETTER. Rat tat 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 tat. Bass splat 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 splat. I'm on a mission, I got the whole commission, giving people what they've been missing. A snake beat and a dope rap. Back in the 90s I sold crack. Bass hitting hard like cocaine. Numb your brain, I'm insane. Spitting flames, you know my name. Run C and I'm back in the game. Gang, 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 gang. TRENDSETTER. You know who we are. Most bass, 5'4". TRENDSETTER. You know who we are. Most bass, 5'4".
until the next time you hear Rhyme C, don't feel dizzy. But yo, Snake, slow it down.
Show 'em you can go low with the bass, buddy.
There it is. Trendsetter.
Trendsetter. Trendsetter. Trendsetter. Trendsetter. Trendsetter. Trendsetter.
My audio started freaking out right at the end there, but
I think he was setting a trend.
Oh, hold on, Mark. What you saying there?
I think he was setting a trend.
What do you mean?
I think that was in the track.
Oh, was it? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because there was some weird, like, snatting stuff happening earlier, and I couldn't tell if it was on purpose or not. So, yeah, if that stutters on purpose... Well, hold on. Let me listen to the beginning of the track to make sure it actually sounds correct.
I came in the game.
Okay. Yeah, so I would say that it's cool to do that, but it doesn't sound necessarily on purpose. It almost sounds like there might be a technical problem. So, anyway... It's really cool. There's a lot of great stuff in there. I would say that the drums are too clean, especially in the first half. When the percussion comes in later on, it's fucking awesome. Really great. Feels exactly how it should feel in terms of the energy. But earlier on, when especially you get to that first, chorus, if you want to call it a chorus, the drums are just a little too clean. It's not quite doing what it should do. The toms aren't as loud and blown up as they should be. So I think I would try pushing the drums even more and see what happens. So, and we're getting a thing that apparently it was not in the track. Well, I don't know what happened, but it sounds okay playing it now. So anyway, ignore my comment about the stuttering thing at the end. There's a percussion thing that's at around 150 for like 8 bars where it makes it sound like the snare is different. There's sort of a bell thing going on the backbeats, which is cool, but it just makes it sound like, well, hold on, what happened to the snare? So maybe pan that a little bit, just get it away from the snare. Something seemed a little bit blown out about the kick in the second half, but this might have been just the beginning of my audio stream not sounding great. I'd turn the scratching up. Like, just go for it. I think, in a way, as aggressive as this track is, it's almost a little bit too contained. I think that, a really great reference, obviously, is Rage Against the Machine for this kind of thing. And this is when I said, go listen to Dark Side of the Moon, and then apologize, because it's like, yeah, okay, go listen to one of the best sounding records ever made. And now you got to do that. Well, but that's the gig. You do have to do that now. So this needs to be as exciting as anything Rage ever put out. So that's your job. And I think that there's some really great stuff in there, and it can just be pushed a little bit more and see how far you can go. So there you go. And now Mark can tell me what else to listen to. And if it still sounds weird, then we'll have to restart my audio business. But what's next, Mark? The Pearl. All right. Pearl from Kramatorsk. You didn't say it was that Pearl. All right.
From the Ukraine. She told me I was a kind of insane. Whoa, what a thing to hear, like music to my ears. I think want to grow old forever and a day. I'm here to stay, whatever trouble comes our way.
The audio screw up is definitely on my side. Let me restart my. This is going to. Oh, right. Yeah. So, Mark, I'm going to stop streaming the audio for a second. And then do that. And do that. And then we're going to quit that. And then we're going to relaunch that. While I'm doing that, I can say. Oh, hold on. Sorry, Mark. I'm not listening to you because I'm so busy doing stuff. Here I am. Okay. Let me turn back on the routing stuff and let's just see if this is playing. But I think I'm good to give some feedback on this anyway. But let's just make sure. Okay. I think we're back. So I think overall, first of all, because we have our first reggae track, I just want to acknowledge the passing of Lee Scratch Perry, who obviously one of the kings of reggae and especially of dub, and outside of reggae, just his work with the Clash, etc., etc., etc. Like, holy shit! If you haven't watched a documentary about this guy, watch a documentary about this guy because you should. And in the meantime, I'm going to start streaming, and then oh, hold on, I have to set my input device here. There's so much going on. It's just hold on one second. Sorry, guys. Settings, input device, mix tank.
So Andrew, while you're doing that, I'm going to take a second to answer a question from the live chat. Some people were asking about mixing contests, and we do have another one coming up very soon. For anybody who's been following along, we're in the middle of a start to finish series featuring Ill Factor, Jared Evan, and Jimmy Douglas is going to be mixing that. Dave Kutch is mastering. And we're going to get to actually see him cut it to vinyl too, which will be cool. And there's a mixing contest that's coming very soon for that one. So stay tuned. That's going to be within the next couple of weeks. You should start getting some emails and all that about that. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And speaking of Jimmy Douglas, if you guys haven't seen the documentary Summer of Soul, it's absolutely mind-blowing about this set of concerts in New York that, I mean, I'd never even heard of them. And I grew up in New York. I had no idea this thing ever happened. They've been sitting on this footage for 50 years, and it looks as if it was filmed yesterday, and Jimmy Douglas mixed it for the movie, and it is fucking awesome.
Wow.
So everybody should go see that. Okay,
Nice.
So anyway, back to the Pearl from Kramatorsk. Again, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that completely wrong. I think you've got to find the reggae band in here, because one of the things about the way reggae tracks always work is you've got the skank guitar, you've got the other rhythmic guitar or keyboard or whatever. Right now, the guitar is sort of a feature, but the piano is kind of buried. And I think you've got to find some interplay between the instruments that will really help. And that will give you some room in the track, which will help make the whole thing a bit more exciting. Everything's just sort of sitting. So I don't know really. I think you've got to find the band, and then assuming it's played well enough, that will take care of 90% of the sort of energy issues that I think you got going on. Yeah, that's it. You've got to find the band. The rhythm section isn't really cooking yet, and until that happens, nothing else you do is going to matter. So I think you've got to rhythmically find it so that you can pan it around. And if you want some inspiration, man, go listen to some Lee Scratch stuff. Though obviously that's going to be a little crazier because he did so much with effects and things. But yeah, find the band and find the groove, and then the rest will follow. That sounded way deeper than it actually is, but I'm going to go ahead and search for our next song here, the Banyan Tree, and hopefully this will be playing. Mark, I sent you a new link. I don't know if the link is the same or not. But hopefully you guys will still have this. Let me know if you don't.
Wandering about in the crossroads of the day, I hear the voices linger on, watching the sailboat as it drifts along the bay, revealing secrets once upon. Riding the bus that leads to where I belong. No other road I'd rather be. Over my shoulder, the sunset I see. Perhaps the sunrise on the way. Greet me in the moonlight as it sparkles through the leaves. We settle in a peaceful vibe. Lying here, eyes closed, the branches gently sway. No better scene can I describe. Riding the bus that leads to where I belong. No other road I'd rather be. Over my shoulder, the sunset I see. Perhaps the sunrise on the Thousand-mile journeys begin with a single step. Somehow this feels differently. End of the day where we find ourselves is home. I'll meet you near the banyan tree.
Cool. I mean, I know that your comment, you said you're struggling to get the lead vocal level right. The lead vocal level actually sounds good to me on there. It fits right in. That's all cool. I think there's something in the transitions between the choruses and those two guitar solos, sort of reintro type things. Like both times I wasn't sure what the point of that section was until kind of the second phrase of the guitar solo. So like the downbeat of those sections need to have a little bit more purpose. I can't really hear the kick drum at all. That might be fine. Maybe you don't need to, but I would try to bring the kick drum into the mix as part of the kit and see what it does. If it helps drive the song a little bit more, give it a little bit more rhythm, I think that would help. The answer vocals in the second, I think it's the second chorus, that are a little bit on the left, they're too loud and too dry. Like they just stick out. So you could bury those a little bit more. They're all on their own. They answer the lead vocal. They're going to be really easy to hear. So I would turn those down. That's what I got. And I'm going a little bit quicker because I'm realizing we're already more than 2 hours in and I want to get to some more of these. So who's next?
So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So our stream is coming in mono. I'm seeing just one channel in.
Oh, you're
listen
right.
to.
Hold on. Let me stop streaming. How do I?
Cool.
Oh, I have to log out to add more channels. That's interesting. Let me log out, add a channel, Right.
And
Log back in. Start streaming. Okay.
our next one is going to be Matt Berkeley's "I Want to Dance." Here we go.
I wanna. No. Yeah, I want to dance. Okay, cool. Let's see if this is in stereo. I had it in stereo, just so you know.
Once the heart is free of hate, then the mind is free of worries. You take me from that sunken place. Mama said my soul is burning. Mama said I didn't mean it. Mama said I didn't mean it. Push me like a pawn, you queen. Oh, when you push me, I'm singing Soul-La-Ti, re, mi. I keep on knocking. I keep on knocking. I keep on knocking. I wanna dance. Now you make me weak. My knees don't people. For the sky. I ain't gonna speak in front of other people. You and me. Now you make me weak. My knees don't people. Till I see the sunrise. I ain't gonna speak in front of other people. I wanna dance. 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 You want my love, but you make me wait. Let our thoughts be free of wonder. You put me in that heightened state. Body's going 6 feet under. Mama said I didn't mean it. Mama said I didn't mean it. Push me like a pawn, you queen. Oh, you push me, singing Soul-La-Ti, re, mi. I keep on knocking till somebody's home. I wanna dance. Now you make me weak. My knees don't people. I ain't gonna speak in front of other people. Now you make me weak. My knees don't people. Till I see the sunrise. I ain't gonna speak in front of other people. Now I wanna dance. Now you make me weak. My knees don't people. I ain't gonna speak in front of other people. Now you make me weak. My knees don't people. Till I see the sunrise. I ain't gonna speak in front of other people.
Cool. The track is great. It's really funky. The vocal arrangement's great. I love the way you do the modulations coming out of that background vocal scale is really cool. But speaking of the modulations, then there's a key change right after one of the modulations at around 220, I think, that seemed really awkward. Like I didn't get where we were for a minute. It took too long for that key change to settle. So I would check that out. I think there's something confusing that transition. The lead vocal is just not lead vocal enough. It gets lost. The vocals on the outside sound great, but the lead vocal itself needs to really spit and drive the track. And I think the drums, I love how kind of retro and cool they are, but they need to pump a little more. There just needs to be some more impact off the kick and snare. I mean, I'm sure you're already checking all this stuff out, but definitely go check out some like P-Funk, Parliament, Funkadelic. Flashlight, I believe, is right around that same tempo and not too different of a groove. So just find how to make this thing pump a little more, and it'll be great. The cool thing is already there. The arrangement's already there. Most of the instruments are fine. So yeah, I would just find something a little punchier to keep the rhythm going. All right, I'm told the next one we're going to listen to is Toxication as opposed to Intoxication. So that one sounds exactly like this. I just want to check one thing. So right there on the word voices, it's coming across as voices, and I don't know if it's a language thing, but that it should come across as voices, I think. Whatever, but that's just something I heard. The bass sounds great, especially in the verse. It's really driving and awesome. And the guitars just sound a bit limp. There's just not really any exciting mid-range coming out of them. They're cool sounding. The verse ones especially sound cool and maybe just need to be a bit louder. But the chorus guitars just don't have I don't know, they're not popping out of the speakers the way they need to. So I would work on that. And I think once you get that, then the vocal will work better in the song. Right now, it's a little disconnected, but I think it's just because it doesn't have any buddies. Like the guitars are not hanging out with it, and they need to hang out with it a little more. So that's what I got on that one. And again, sorry, I'm going quicker. I should have gone a little bit quicker earlier on. So I'm thinking, Mark, like 3 or 4 more. What do you think? You'll tell me.
Yeah, sounds good. Awesome. Let's do. There were we're hearing some stuff, and it's sounding like it was a little bit left heavy on that last one over here. Was that sounding that way for you, or is it
Not
streaming thing?
particularly. I mean, if it was crazy left heavy, then I'm definitely
That's
not
pretty-
hearing that. No, that's weird. I'm looking at my streaming setup thing, and I don't see anything that looks like that. Let's run the next one just cause.
Cool. Yep.
And then if it's still like that, I mean, obviously that would suck, but in the interest of time, obviously
Yes.
they can come back to Mixed Tank and listen
Yep.
if they want
Yeah,
to.
the
again.
comments are
So
what's
I
important,
apologize
so-
for that, but
Yep.
I'm using, I shouldn't be. I'm using a beta of the Audio Movers app thing. So that's probably it, but
So
I don't know
cool.
how to fix it.
So cool. You get all the cool betas.
I know.
Okay, here
What
we
am I
go.
doing, man? You're not supposed to do that for an actual gig. So that explains the sky. I like the title. Let's see what happens here.
Look here, look there, a reason for despair. Monster under the stairs, fear
Cool. Hopefully that was not all left heavy for you. That sounded fine here. But anyway, if it is, we're not going to try and fix it now. So I would say there are only two things. One is, in terms of the way the band is split out, especially up until the second verse, you've got this very stereo piano and everybody else seems to be in the middle. Then you get some hard pan guys that come in picking guitars and stuff in the second verse. But I feel like the piano and the organ are both just big stereo things and everybody else is little mono things, and somehow you could get a better sense of the band. But the biggest thing is, I would bet you if you listen to this just as an instrumental mix, you'd be really happy with how everything's sitting and how it's feeling, though I think with some clever panning you could make it even better. The vocal sounds crazy to me, and you kind of get used to it as you go through the track. And like, oh, okay. But when it first comes in, it's phasey and sounds really super mid-rangey and processed and a little bit hollow. And like I say, you get used to it. So by the end of the track, it's almost like, oh, it's kind of an affected vocal. But I really think that that's the only thing wrong with this. I think that the band, if you listened without the vocal, you'd probably be really happy with it. A vocal is not happening. And I don't know what it is. It just sounds over-processed. Like it's had the kind of core sucked out a little bit. So that's where I would start. I would just start from scratch on your vocal sound on the lead vocal and see if you can get a more natural sound. And if you don't like that, then you can go back to maybe a more mid-rangey thing or even a little distorted or something like that. But right now, it just sounds hollowed out. So that's what I would focus on. And I need to pee on your wall. And now we need to go find the next song. Red Line Mix 3. That's what we're going to listen to.
There's a sign that says, rest off 50 miles. Ain't no rest for me until I see my sweet honey child. This place the place where we first met. It's good to see familiar ground. Ain't got no time to see the sights. My baby lives on the far side of town. You on my mind, so sweet and kind. So push your motor to the red line. I got to make some time. Hey, hey, hey. I hope those don't cause with the radar on. I'll be cooling my heels until the night. 14 hours, my luck's held out, and things have been tight, the traffic's been light. I got a Sunday driver up ahead, get out my way so I can get to bed. Live a lane for people in love, get to the right, get out of my way. You on my mind, so sweet and kind. Push your motor to the red line. I got to make some time. Hey, hey. Behind the wheel, drive-through burgers for every meal. Can't wait to sink my teeth into some cooking, some down-home cooking. Hey, you're good looking. to follow the freeway signs. I leave the driving to the Alabama lines. Highway is not my home. Don't you know I've been gone too long? You on my mind, so sweet and kind. So push your motor through the red line. I got to make some time, yeah. You on my mind, listen baby, so sweet and kind. So push your motor through the red line. I got to make some time, yeah. You on my mind, hey girl, so sweet and kind. So push your motor through the red line. I got to make some time, yeah.
Nice. I think there's some just like basic balance problems here. So the rhythm guitar that's on the left is the loudest thing in the song pretty much all the way through, and that includes like there's that organ break, and the organ is quieter than that guitar. That guitar plays a couple of fills during the other guitar solo, and it's louder than the solo guitar. So you've just got some balance things that have got to happen. I think that the main rhythm guitar has got to come down a little bit, and I think the organ and piano should come up overall to try and be a band. Because right now it's drums, bass, that guitar, and then some other people meandering around in the background. And the other big balance thing is you've got the sax solo, but there's some guitar fills during it, and the guitar fills are louder than the sax, and they need to at least be equal. So that the main thing is balance. The other thing that was a little weird to me is on a song like that, there's a band, right? There are a certain number of people playing instruments. And then like 3/4 of the way through the song, there's a guitar solo by some dude that I don't know where that guy came from. Like, was he lurking in the back? Is it the singer? But the singer hasn't played guitar yet on the song. Like, there was something really weird to me about all of a sudden having a second guitar. I don't know what to do about that. I don't know what the makeup of the band is, but I feel as though it wants to feel more like a band of people playing so that things make sense as they come and go. Like even the sax sort of came out of nowhere. So I don't know. Again, I don't know what to do about that. Maybe you don't do anything about it, and maybe I'm wrong. But that's what I got for you. And I feel like the drums, they're cool, but if you listen to a lot of this kind of contemporary blues stuff, the drums are a lot more hi-fi than what you've got going on. It's much more of a retro drum sound, and I don't know that it's working. So I think there's some in-between stuff, but the biggest thing is the balance. All right, I'm seeing that we got 5 requests, so that's what we're going to listen to, and then we're going to stop. Because as always, on these Monday things, I'm going way too long. I told Mark, yeah, we'll do 2 hours, and we're already at 2.5, and we're going to do 5 more songs. So I'm going to be very quick with them. So this is Rock and Roll, supposedly. I'm not seeing it, and that's probably because you put 2 apostrophes in, as you would, because we're losing 2 letters in rock and roll. No, I'm not seeing that. So maybe Mark can give me something else to search on like that, and we'll do Smells Like Rain while we wait. Our stream's gone haywire again. Sorry. I'm just going to quit this. See, it's all going to hell. It knows that I'm supposed to be not doing this anymore. So let me turn that off. And then try turning that on. And let me see if this sounds right. No, I got to quit. I think it's Safari is what's screwing up. So let me quit that. And then let me relaunch that. Yeah. Okay. And let me see if this part of it's working. Yep. And now let me give you a stream. Oh, no. All right. 1 second. Okay, that should work. Start streaming. Mark, let me know if this is still getting to you.
You say that you can't leave it, 'cause it feels just like home. You say that you can't stand it, but it heals you to the bone. Oh, here comes that feeling. Here comes that pain. 'Cause it smells like rain. I know that I love you. Always have and always will. And I know that we can make it when the day is done and through. And I know that it ain't easy being in love with such a fool. Oh, here comes that feeling. Here comes that pain. 'Cause it smells like rain. You know I can't stop loving you no matter what you say or do. You say that you don't need it, and it won't leave you alone. You say that you can't leave it, 'cause it feels just like home. You say that you can't stand it, but it heals you to the bone. Oh, here comes that feeling. Here comes that pain. 'Cause it smells like rain. Oh, here comes that feeling. Here comes that pain. 'Cause it smells like rain. Oh, here comes that feeling. Here comes that pain. 'Cause it smells like rain.
Cool. I think this is kind of the same thing as the last one. It doesn't feel quite like a band. The main guitar sounds great. Drums are fine. I'm read that they're just stereo, but that's fine. I'd try adding a tiny bit of low end to them just to see if you can get that kick a little beefier. But like the bass is just sort of, you can hear it, but he's missing an action, especially at the end when it's the band jamming. I want to hear the rest of the band, and I would leave the guitar and the drums exactly where they are and try bringing other people up and see how you can get it to work. And I think, well, speaking of somebody else who just died, Charlie Watts, I mean, it's sort of an obvious Stonesy kind of jam, especially the second half. So I would listen to similar Rolling Stones songs and just see how the band is balanced. Because like one of the things about a lot of those Stones records, especially the ones with Glyn Johns, is like the balance is impeccable. It's just ridiculous. And that's why it all works. But if you listen to it, sometimes the levels are weird. Like the vocal can be buried, but it still works really, really well. So there's just something about the balance which makes this not really stay interesting all the way to the end, and it should. So that's what I would do. I'd bring up the bass, bring up the other stuff, and just kind of see where it goes. All right. I am going to search for something else. There we go. There's rock and roll. And that's what we're going to listen to right now. Cool. Super aggressive. Guitars are big. That's all really good. There's some crazy stuff happening in the low mids. I think it's always the toms. The toms are definitely doing it, but there might be something else doing it. Every once in a while, when there's a single hit and you get that huge boom, it's really cool. But in sections where the toms are busier, it's just too much. It's swamping the mix. So I'd probably tighten up the toms a bit there. The other problem is that the lead vocal sounds exactly like the guitars. it's cool that it's distorted, but it is very hard to hear. Like, you hear the melody of it, but it's not separating from the guitars. It needs some low mids, needs some body, something like that. So find some more room for the lead vocal, and sort out the low mids just exploding a little too much everywhere. And I think you'll be good. So nice job, though, especially if that's actually your first mix attempt. That's pretty damn good. So, in the interest of doing these last three before my brain explodes, we're going to move on to No End, which the song has to have an end, because otherwise we won't ever get to the next song. That's a good joke. Here we go.
Hussein, 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 Hussein. Oh, yeah.
And the stream is freaking out again. I think Safari doesn't seem to like it when I search.
للحكاية هذا حب كان كائن يكون لا نهاية للحكاية هذا حب كان كائن يكون اقرأ حاء سين ياء إمامك تعرف الله وتشعر يسري بروحك نور وتدري علما دمع يدور وبنفس التجلي للبصاير تتجلى دماء المنحور وجن موسى جبل الطور زين الأجل وأجلك ضحى ذات الجلال يوم اللي بدم المهجة استنقذنا من الضلال أعظم وأعلى ثاير استوطن بالضماير وتعيش ذكراه والكون محزون لا نهاية هذا حب كان كائن يكون لا نهاية كان كائن يكون اقرأ حاء سين ياء ترتيلة حروفه عدها ويا دموعي علاقة ونفخة كل حياتي وموتي وياه صحراء المعاني شفت فارس تمتد للتايه يمناه ويروي بالحب رغم ضمان كل شي سرابه هو حقيقة والحب الوجود من ذرات ترابا صقلت مرآة الخلود يلقوم مسيرك يضمن لك مصيرك خليك وياه والفوز مضمون لا نهاية للحكاية هذا حب كان كائن يكون لا نهاية للحكاية هذا حب كان كائن يكون اقرأ حاء سين يعبر من خلال الجنة الله المخلوق من انوار حسين بركبه خلك بالدارين اشهد ان دمه بالخليج ساكن كان شفته بشوف العين ويبقى فضله دين ودين روعة ولوعة بحبا جمعت من بالطف هواه من يهوى حسين دموعه برهان الهوى المؤمن من يذكره يجري لأجل عبره ويصيح يا حسين لدماك ممنون لا نهاية.
Man, sounds great. It sounds really great. The vocals are awesome. So there's that. Details, nitpicky things to try. I tried bringing a little more mid-range into that pad that's in the back just to try and fill in the gaps a little more. Because right now, when the vocals drop out, there doesn't seem to be quite enough around it. I wouldn't mind trying a little bit more definition on the bass because there's some really cool stuff going on down there. So maybe like some 700 hertz somewhere in there that's just that kind of honky thing that'll be just the tone. So not to make the bass bigger, but just to hear what's going on down there a little bit. And I can't tell if you're doing this or not already, but sometimes that whoom, that hit sounds like it has some more low end and is a little more aggressive, and that's good. If you're not already doing that, I would mess with that, where some sections add some sub to it or something like that to really make those drop. But you could just go with this exactly as it is and you're fine. The vocal sounds fantastic on this. Well done. Very well done. Sooner or later, we're going to listen to a song called Sooner or Later. And here it is.
I know you want to go out for dinner.
Nice. It feels great. It feels really, really great. Those big choruses have that total what is it? The George Harrison song. Anyway, great feel to them, and the mess is actually really exciting in there. You say you don't like the snare drum. Well, you recorded the snare separately so you can fix it. So you should fix that. Whatever. It works for me. It's weird in the intro how distorted the drums sound like they're going to be. And then I can hear maybe it's a little boxy, but like suck a little 500 out and add some top end and be done with it. Don't mess up the feel of the track because you're the drummer and you want to make sure that your snare drum sounds good. It feels really, really good. So keep this as a reference and always make sure no matter what you do with the drums that it still feels as good. And then you're cool. Everything about it is it's good. It's really, really good. And that's what I'm going to say. And we're now going to listen to our last song called Programmed to Repeat, apparently. If I could type, we'd already be there. I don't see it. How fuzzy is the search? Not fuzzy enough. What's that last one, Mark? Why can't I find it? Mark. Mark's gone.
Okay.
He's left me.
So I know it was from the YouTube username was Star Wars Gaming. And I don't know if that's his Puremix one, but it was programmed to repeat. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm not finding it. Do you see it when you search?
Yeah. Okay. So Star Wars is commenting. Star Wars, what is the name of your song? He's going to be a couple seconds behind us, and let me see if I can track it down here. Programmed.
Okay. Because it'll be very hard to listen to if we can't find it.
Yes. So everybody, after this last song, hang out with us for a little bit.
Yes.
We're going to have some cool announcements.
We're going to
some
talk
pretty
to
big
you
ones.
about things.
Yeah. And I don't see it when I search either. Let's see, no Star Wars in there. Let me see if he's commented. All right. On YouTube. What? That my song on YouTube. Mark.
Is this something that's not on Mixtank?
So Star Wars programmed to repeat. Oh wait, it's spelled differently than normal. Let's see if that does it. If you type no, I don't think that's coming up. So Star Wars, not sure if your song was on Mixtank and I misunderstood you. If it was on YouTube. So this would be Mixtank.
Yeah, but if it's on YouTube, we can't do this.
Right, yeah, we won't be able
That's
to
the
do
whole
that.
thing. It's for people who've put mixes on Mixtank.
That's right.
It's not a Mixtank takeover if I listen to things from YouTube.
Okay, so Star Wars, for next time, go to puremix.net/mix-tank and submit your mix, and we'll try to get to it next time. So sorry that didn't work out.
But that's okay, because my brain is liquefied. So
yeah.
I think not listening to one more is probably
best for you.
Yeah, it's not good for the people who would like me to listen to more mixes, but I think we've done it. I think that's 3 hours of mixes.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
You did it for 3 hours. That was crazy. Yep.
Which of course is short compared to what we usually do on a Monday, which is what we want to talk to you guys about.
That's right. That's right.
Because we do stuff on a Monday, Mark and I. And we're going to continue doing stuff on a Monday. So Andrew Talks to Awesome People is back. And it's different in that this counts as an Andrew Talks to Awesome People. Because basically what's going to happen is I'm going to be on the internet every Monday with Mark. But we're going to do different things. So, for instance, we are not getting rid of the interviews because that is the point. But what was happening is it takes so much research and so much time to research that doing that every week was kind of not killing me because that would be a bit dramatic, but it was really difficult. So coming up in September, we do have 2 interviews, which I'm quite excited about. One, we're going to be doing part 2 with Jakir King on the 27th, but the week before that, on the 20th, Mr. Bob Rock. And if you don't know, it's in the name. Yeah.
I'm just
Cannot wait. It's made Mark turn into a bat. That's how cool it is that we're talking to Bob Rock. But you may notice that there are 2 weeks on the calendar between now and then. So what we're going to do, eventually there are going to be lots of just Q&As with people we've already talked to, or even people we haven't interviewed, but just straight Q&As. I want to do more panels, like the hearing health panel I think was really, really good. Yeah. I want to do a panel on Atmos and things like that with some of the people who are doing it. I've got some very cool people I will be interviewing further on, but we're going to try and limit it to about 2 interviews a month. So what we're going to do next week, I'm going to talk a lot and then Mark will tell me everything I forgot. So first of all, we're going back to the normal Andrew Talks to Awesome People time, which is we start at 11:30 East, 11:30 West Coast, 2:30 East Coast, 7:30 UK, 8:30 Europe. That's the time. That's the time that I talk to awesome people, basically. So even the next time I do a Mix Tank takeover, which we want to make a semi-regular thing. I don't know if it'll be once a month, but we'll do this regularly. So this will be part of the rotation on a Monday. That will be a 7:30 UK thing. So next week, we're going to do a Q&A with me.
Yes.
So no interview, but you're going to show up and you guys are going to ask questions and Mark is going to then reframe those questions or ask them exactly as you ask them. And then I will meanderingly answer them. And then what I'm also going to do, just so I've got a little thing to talk about, is I'm going to talk about my Atmos setup because I've alluded to it. You can see bits of it behind me, but I'm going to go through exactly what I'm using. And I went crazy, just so you know, and I am not pretending that everybody should do the Atmos setup that I did because it's insane. And I sold an entire studio's worth of gear. So I had some money to buy things that normally I would not have. But we'll talk a little bit about that, about the process of mixing in Atmos and sort of what's important and what's not. Because like I said earlier on, headphones are crazy important for mixing in Atmos. And you might be thinking, I just need lots of speakers, but that's not necessarily the case. Okay, then the next week, we're going to do Q&A again with me because I'm really lazy and didn't schedule anything. But it's going to be SoundFlow week. Yes. So I'm going to talk about SoundFlow. I'm going to show you guys some apps that I've built with SoundFlow. Some of them are out already. Some of them aren't. I'll show you a couple of like real sort of basic scripts that I've done that barely do anything but have changed my life. Like I can swap input on my mix track without having to scroll to it. And in fact, without even having to switch to Pro Tools. I've been looking for something like that. On a keystroke for the last 10 years. Literally, I've bought every single controller ever made, hoping there was an input button that I could lock to it. I've got all of the different iPhone and iPad, like Yukon things that have a thing. But anyway, so we're going to talk a lot about SoundFlow. And then we got Bob Rock, and then we got Jakir King. And then that brings us to October, and we'll figure that out.
We'll get there when we get there. Nothing, but I want to go back to the SoundFlow thing for a minute. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, it is essentially a way for you to make your own commands in Pro Tools, workflows, automations, and not just Pro Tools. It does do some other
anything. You can script anything. I've got scripts that log in through the terminal to shut down my second computer. Like you can do apps. you can have it send emails.
Right.
You can have it text people, but it's like so on the face of it, you might think it's a lot like Keyboard Maestro, and does Quick Keys even exist anymore? Because that was always the macro program way back. But on the face of it, it is that. But it is much, much deeper in 2 different ways. One is that if you want to be a geek and go heavily, it's got drag and drop macro stuff, which makes it easy. Yeah. But if you want to be a geek, you can go into full-on JavaScript scripting to control things. And then the other thing it's got is that it's got very deep hooks into Pro Tools. So you have commands to make Pro Tools do things, and it's not just automating keystrokes that already exist and then clicking with the mouse. It goes and gets information about the session, and like it's super super deep. So yeah. So we'll go.
It's gonna be a good
through
one.
that. Hopefully without me being too confusing, but I get very excited about it.
It's amazing like how far down the rabbit hole you went with that. So you're the perfect person to do this. This is going to be really cool. So, and Bob freaking rock. So
yeah,
there's all that.
It's the Canadian connection, man. Greg Wells hooked that up. I have to say thank you very much to Greg for getting him on here. And so there's some other very cool people who are not locked in on dates, but I'm super excited about. So
yeah, great. Okay, well, everybody, thank you so much for submitting your mixes. All of the mixes sounded really awesome
really good.
Today.
I'm trying to find where my thumb will show up on camera. Right. Awesome. And the diversity of styles couldn't have been wider, which is fantastic. But really good. And what's always exciting to me with this is that musically, it's all really good. Like there's not like, oh God, I have to listen to this song now. Like that was all fine. So, and some of them sound amazing and some of them need a bit of work, but that's why we're here. So
yeah. Everybody give Andrew a giant thank you in the comments. 3 hours of this. That is exhausting. And thank you so much for taking the time, Andrew.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. And that's short for a Monday for us. So yeah.
Yeah. But that was a lot of very focused listening too. So then again, I guess that's sort of what you do all day. So cool.
Excellent.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We will see you next time.
We'll see you next Monday.
Next Monday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern.